So lately, I've been seeing a lot of people blaming guides for their failed runs in Umamusume. But here's the thing, the guides themselves aren't the real problem. The truth is, most guides are made with strong support decks in mind, something that casual free-to-play players simply don't have. And that's where the real gap begins. Today, I want to break down why guides feel out of touch for free-to-play, why support cards are actually the biggest hurdle, and what I think side games could do to make things fairer for newer players. Let's talk about it. 君の愛馬がズキュンドキュン走り出しドキュンドキュンかけてゆくよこんな想いは初めて So first, if we're going to be making changes to Umamusume, I don't think that removing the advantage of whales is the way to go since they're still the one giving revenue to side games. And there's no way that they'll be doing things that could harm their precious whales. So if I'm going to suggest some changes, let's make it realistic. First, let's talk about the guide makers. I think that they're literally on point when it comes to skill. I mean, most of them are veterans, so I think that when it comes to skills, they're going to be mostly reliable. Like, for example, in this new champions meeting, having groundwork is going to be the best move for frontrunners since it scales very good and it's very cheap. The only problem with it is if you're not the one who activates angling and scheming at the final corner, then you're most likely going to lose. Which takes me to my point. I think that most players who can actually experiment on the skills in these games are only whales. I mean, there might be other good combinations of skills out there, but most sweaty free-to-plays can't actually test them if they don't have the cards. So I think that Umamusume could have an experimental server where players can experiment on other combinations of skills comparing to each other to see the best outcome. Now this change is good for whales and free-to-play alike, so I don't think that there's going to be much of a problem having this change. Sure, it might take time, but I think that experimental servers where you can choose how much stat your UMA should get, how much skill points you can spend, would let even free-to-play players understand the best move for the cards that they have. Because the lifeline of a free-to-play is the support card borrows, and especially borrowing spark from the UMAs that they don't have. For example, Saiyan Sky and her angling and scheming, which you could only do 3 times per day, so you don't have the resources to actually experiment. And because of this, most players would just most likely look for guides on the internet on what's the best instead of having the freedom of trying to build which are the best for the UMAs and cards that they have. You see, most guides are specific. They're saying things like, you should have at least this stat with this skills and this whatever. But what if you don't have one of those? Does that mean that the build is fucked now? If I can't hit this stamina threshold, should I sacrifice one of these skills so that I can get stamina skill to compensate? This change should help free-to-play players play around on what they have and understand the best way for them. You may say that UMA later exists for those experiment, but we all know that it's not 100% accurate since side games didn't make this tool. Second, let's talk more about the whale guide makers. I think that they're a little bit out of touch when it comes to teaching our free-to-play players. I mean, their guides are on point, but only if you can manage to hit every single condition, like stat threshold, skills, sparks, etc. And to hit that, you need to have certain cards, MLBs. You're a sweaty free-to-play who re-rolled until they get an MLB Kitsan Black. I think that these guides should still be helpful for you, but most players are not like that. Most players have a single copy of Kitasan, Super Creek, or Fine Motion, so hitting stat thresholds are hard for them. This game is simply not casual friendly. You could say that if you're casual, then just don't join the champions meeting, or don't hope to win. But what else are you going to do in this game if you're not going to get ready for the next champions meeting? The peak content of Umamusume is champions meeting, and that is why I think casual should still be able to enjoy this. But how can side games fix this? I think that having a B-League is a very good move for side games, but I just don't think that that is enough. I think that a ranking system should be in place, something that actually matches the player base on their team strength, win rate, and their constant placing, instead of just throwing everyone in the same pool. Right now, free-to-plays are fighting against whales who can drop maxed out teams every single champions meeting, and that's just demoralizing. Imagine if the game had proper tiers or divisions like bronze, silver, and gold. Whales would still dominate the top leagues, but free-to-plays and casuals would actually have a chance to compete in their own bracket. You'd still get rewards, still get the feeling of progression, and most importantly, you'd still feel like you're part of the competitive scene without needing MLB of everything. Because here's the thing, if the only people who can actually enjoy Champions Meeting are only whales and veterans, then free-to-plays will eventually quit. And if free-to-play players quit, the game loses its player base, which even whales don't want to happen. Ranking system would give everyone a reason to keep playing. To lessen the chances of people smurfing, I think that every tier should have a significantly different rewards. You can even give out free skins if you have this certain rank. I mean, if your game is going to become competitive, it's unthinkable to not have a tier system just like this. I really think that a ranking system should be implemented, especially in the global servers, since not everyone is a veteran. Third is, I don't really think that guides are killing your run. It's just that it is not tailored for you. It's tailored for somebody who already has a decently built deck with decent UMAs, which casual players doesn't have. And I think that the game has to change something because there is a huge number of you guys. To fix this, I think that if they're not going to add a ranking system, then at least give newer players some kind of an advantage so they can actually enjoy the game. What I'm thinking is, give 1 month where new players can borrow 2 support cards and have a total of 6 daily borrows of guest UMA so that they can easily build their UMA at first. After this 1 month, everything comes back to normal. Because I still believe that even though I know that whales have much more of an advantage than us, I know that it's just a support card problem. Low level cards means low stats, and if you spend your carrots wisely, there will come a time where you can also compete with whales. Yes, they are even more flexible when it comes to building, but at least stat-wise, you're not losing. You can invent your own playstyle depending on the cards that you have, which I think is part of the fun of the game. I, for example, for playing for about a month, can now somewhat compete against whales. That being said, I also have a MLB Kitasan Black, which I rerolled for 3 days. For me, I can reach double 4-digit stats, which is not bad for free to play. So I think that having a bit of an advantage at the start should give our new players and free to play players the time to adjust to their decks. Like I always say, stats is king in this game. Because you could have the most perfect skills in the world, like for example in Cancer Cup, but if you have 900 speed, I guarantee you that you're just going to lose. This should lessen the burnout that new players and free-to-play players will feel, so they're most likely to stay in the game. I know that the Games devs are listening, especially since we got the accelerated gems that we are looking for just recently, and they also apologize with free carrots as compensation. So big W for Games on that one. That is why I really think that they can implement some of these things that the community mutually agreed on. Everything that I said right now is me selling an idea to the community, since if majority of the community agreed that one of these changes are right, then most likely Umamusume will make a move. The things that they will implement could be a bit different, but the goal should be the same. If you have other ideas how to make Umamusume better for our casual and free-to-play players, tell me in the comments. With that, see you in the next video.